Hey folks, I'm here today with Ashish Sachdeva, and I'm certainly not saying his name properly, but it's a great pleasure to have him here with us today. He is the CEO of HyperLight here in Vancouver. He is a visionary entrepreneur who works to accelerate digital transformation and leverage technology to solve complex urban challenges. He is passionate about using artificial intelligence and wireless sensors to develop smart city solutions that can drastically improve lives and make our environment smarter and better. Ashish, it's a great pleasure to have you here with us today. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you so much for Marcelo for having me today. I'm quite excited, to be part of your podcast. I've had a chance to listen to some of your podcasts, and yeah, really excited to share my story this morning.
Fantastic. Thank you again. Every guest has a different path in life, right? So, and you have a fascinating path here. And you grew up in India, right? So, and India is so far away from Brazil, but at the same time, I see several similarities, right? There's huge cultural diversity. There's a fantastic food. There's fantastic people. There's huge opportunities everywhere for growth, right? Can you tell us a little bit about how was it to grow up in India? How was your path going through elementary education, high school, and until you got to university? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I'm almost thinking about my childhood as you asked me that question, and it absolutely brings me back in old times. And one thing that I really feel is India is so different than anything that you experience here in Canada, be it in your day-to-day lifestyles or your academic choices, or even the work style and work ethic. Everything is just so fast paced and competitive that I feel the biggest difference that I felt between the two countries was just the level of competitiveness and stress that you have in India is quite astonishing. I don't know how sustainable that really is for younger generation. But my story was pretty much not a smooth start, I would say. Growing up, something that I don't think I've shared before, but my father had physical disabilities. He was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, and that created quite a bit of challenge for my family growing up. India is not a very accessible country. If you're in wheelchair, unlike in Canada, you can't really go to grocery stores freely by yourself. You can't really have the same quality of life that you would have here. So growing up for me, it was constant struggle between coming from a relatively lower income, family, while still participating in ultra competitive environment where there's a lot of pressure to perform, there's a lot of pressure to succeed. So I felt like my first few years, just since the age where I somewhat knew what I'm passionate about, was a lot of stress, a lot of hard work, a lot of number of days where I'm just in a room with my deliverables, or if it's studying for an exam, just putting in my time for up to 16, 17, 18 hours constant for several days. So as a kid, I always felt that the life does not have to be this tough, and there has to be a way to hack all of this. And that's basically was what my initial interest was with technology, where I felt looking some examples in my life where I saw the benefits that technology can bring in people's life, and with automation help them improve, be it in someone's life on a for performing simple day-to-day tasks, or something very complicated. So I felt there was a better way, more optimized way of living life, and that's just my early introduction to technology. So back in India, I think that's what I discovered in my formal education in India is in computer science engineering. So I have a bachelor's in computer science engineering. I did 4 years of education in India. And then after that, I came to Canada to study master's in computer science.
Going back to India before we come into Canada, how was it the university over there? Because I think you went through the name of the university is UPTU, and I don't think I can properly say the proper name of the university. But can you tell us a little bit about the university work and how was it, and how was the education and the access to the professors and resources over there before you came to Canada, and then perhaps you can tell us a little bit about what motivated you to come to Canada? Because I'm not sure it was the master's degree program that motivated you, or something else. But let's explore a little bit of your university education back in India, please.
Yeah. So the university that I went to, UPTU, it's a state university. It's a pretty large university with multiple campuses in northern part of India. And as the state university, the core focus of the university is technical education. So they have multiple engineering programs in computer science and electrical, electronics. So the university life there is quite different than what I experience here in Canada. We would have every semester we would have like 10 courses that we're working towards, and each semester is 4 months, pretty much similar to here. But the course load, I think, in Canada is about 5 courses, whereas in UPTU it was like 10 courses. So it was pretty much like, you're doing twice the number of courses compressed in the same amount of time as you would have here in Canada. So from that sense, the work pressure of basically learning vast amount of information in small amount of time, it's quite a ride. But I think the best part about that experience is, it really teaches you something very, very fundamental in life that applies to so many different areas, which is how to perform under a lot of pressure, how to manage time. And I think that's something that, those were two big things that I really learned out of my undergrad.
Yeah, I'd say I can just imagine the amount of work and the pressure for performing in a very competitive environment as well. And what was the motivation to come to Canada? So you mentioned you're into technology already at the university, but then and how was it that you look at Canada, or the desire to come here, or the desire to take the master's degree came up? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So this was in 2009, and back then, I think the universities in India, they were not very focused. They were primarily focused on traditional software engineering related courses, software engineering related projects. So I had two choices essentially. One was to continue, my career in India, and that would basically be becoming a software engineer. Um, or, there are other areas that I was personally interested in, which were related to data and artificial intelligence, which is where I feel the major gap was that, I just couldn't find relevant education in India for those fields. So I started applying for, or researching, pretty much like, on a global basis, on which universities offer a platform where I can learn data skills, because data is, big part of everything that we're doing right now. In fact, the amount of data that we've collected in the last 6 years is just enormous, and I'm really excited to see the possibilities and potentials that we're going to now be able to create with data and AI. So that was that this whole field was really of great interest to me, and just lack of options in India, I started looking at different places. Why Canada? I think that was a little bit of luck, because I applied to a university in Canada that specifically focused on data. So I did have some options that I was comparing, in addition to coming to Canada, but I got lucky, because I got full scholarship to come to Canada, and as an international student, that was like a big part of managing finances, and especially with my family background, I think it was a lot about like making financial sense to education as well, and that's key decision for me.
That's quite a change, right? So I came from Brazil to Canada, so I can imagine the challenges of moving to Canada and going to the master's degree here as well. Can you tell us about, you mentioning data, you mentioning artificial intelligence, but can you tell us a little bit about your master's degree work and how was it to be at that work and what kind of knowledge, what kind of benefits it brought to your career?
For sure. So, when I started my master's in Canada, I really was focused on how do we build infrastructure for really consuming this vast amount of data that is being generated everywhere, every second today, and not just how do we have a infrastructure to consume that data, but also if we have all this information, how do we basically mine valuable insights from all the data that we're collecting? So, big part of my research was learning and researching methodologies where we could analyze large volumes of data in small amount of time, and really, I always compare it with the gold mining, field where I think everyone would agree these days that data is the new gold. So my master's was mostly focused on looking at different methodologies where we could generate an actionable insight from vast volume of unstructured data in a reasonably short amount of time. And the goal would be if we have this valuable, actionable insight, what can we proactively do? What are the decisions we can take with this data that we have in our hand that can help save, let's say, if it's a corporate environment, depending on where what is the problem we're trying to solve. If we have the data in a timely manner, in many cases that can help us save a lot of money by reducing costs or optimizing performance. And in many other non-traditional ways, it can really help us save lives. And that's basically what I was mostly passionate about, is how not only the building of technology, but building of technologies that can make an impact. So I was able to combine all these methodologies that I was learning and researching into a specialized area for healthcare. So I started analyzing a lot of healthcare data that was available to us at the university, and my goal was how do we improve healthcare by leveraging the data mining and data analysis techniques.
That's a fantastic field, right? So, can you explain to us a little bit? Because for most people and many of the listeners here, they're still starting and trying to get understanding how can they can do a hello world in programming, right? So, some others are more advanced, but can you tell us a little bit more about the data and artificial intelligence, and how do you see that being applied to healthcare, and how do you see that saving lives and reducing the time it takes to get some of the treatments and getting treatments like cancer detection and any other kind of potential diseases that AI can help us with better diagnosis. Would you mind telling us a little bit about that work?
Yeah. So, I mean, a really good example, that is relevant on our daily basis today. Every country is tracking the number of COVID cases on daily basis. So, people read in the news that these are how many cases we've had, these are how many people we've tested. And I think if you look at those numbers, and you look at what's happening behind the scene, there's quite sophisticated technology being applied for us to be able to on a daily basis go and report that we're having 1,000 cases or these many cases of COVID. This is the demographics that is being most impacted. These are the neighborhoods that might be most impacted. And if you start, like, looking at the value of that information, it is really helping our public health officers in making decisions that they can used to make policy for people. The same decisions can be used for the vaccine companies in their research. So by collecting this data and analyzing something as basic as, like, what is the number of cases that are happening on a daily basis, and where are these spikes, we can take decisions, and we can really make an impact on the overall safety of people.
It's also fascinating that you can use some of that to kind of predict where the cases are going to be happening, right? So, and it's really fascinating to see how AI is being used. I have friends that have been looking to AI application to the field of diagnosing eye problems or eyesight problems or any kind of eye kind of a disease, right? Which is really, really fascinating. I think you had some experience with mining organizations as well, right? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Are you applying AI and data analysis kind of concepts as well to mining? Can you, and not necessarily data mining, but actual mineral mining, right?
Yeah. So, when I started my career in Canada, I was mostly focused on healthcare data, and the indicators that I was familiar with was mostly within the healthcare realm. But it's always refreshing to me on basically not reinventing, but re-envisioning the same methodologies in a different data set or in a different field. So at when I was working at a mining company, I was applying the same methodologies that I learned and applied in healthcare, but this time it was to look at the data for human resources within a mining company. And for mining companies, it's really important that they have the right number of people, skilled people, to be able to generate produce the commodity that they're producing. And their challenge is that there's not a lot of the talent pool, that knows how to operate a mine is very, very small, right? People these days, everyone knows that they need to go to maybe technical fields and become a computer science. A lot of focus is on finance, a lot of focus is on computer science, and these newly evolved areas. But there's because of this growing trend, there is a shortage of people who know mine engineering. There's shortage of people who know how to safely operate mine equipment. So my work in mining was mostly focused at finding the right number of people that we need in future to be able um, to run the mine without any safety incidents, to be able to have the performance of the mine at the optimal performance levels. So we looked at the last 10 years of data that the company had, and using the data that the company already was collecting, we were able to determine some forecast trends. We knew that after how many years people on general in the company leave, we knew why are they leaving. So when we look at this historic information, that on average, a person will leave after a certain number of years for a certain number of reasons, we can create strategies to make sure that the talent that the companies are really struggling to find, they can retain that talent and also develop new talent to solve their the human resource problem.
That's fantastic. That's a pretty good use of technology, right? So to benefiting many people. And Ashish, how was how was your transition from your master's degree, your work with healthcare, mining, to the point that you said you want to create your own company, you want to build HyperLight. What motivated you to go onto that direction? I'm also wondering if you can tell us a little bit how was it to create a company, and how complex it is, the process of creating a new business in Canada, and the introduction of leading edge kind of technology and products.
Excellent. So I think the this started back in 2013, 2014. I was always interested in entrepreneurship. HyperLight is my second company. My first company was a short span startup that I started in university, and that gave me a really hands-on experience on launching a business and basically getting it off the ground. But unfortunately, the first startup was not as successful as HyperLight is. So in 2014, when I was doing all this technology consulting work with the companies here in Vancouver, at the same time, living in Vancouver, I was reading about a lot of urban challenges that exist not just in Vancouver but everywhere around the world. And one of the challenges that we focused on was accessibility. So in 2016, there was a news article in Vancouver where we realized from that news article that there are a few users, few public transit users in the city who are unable to use public transit because they don't have full use of their arms, and because of that, they find it really difficult to tap a fare card at the transit system. So, that story really reminded me of my childhood and the struggles that I saw my father face every day. And that was very personal to me. And looking at that, news story, I started thinking about what will happen in the future, because many years ago maybe we did not have the tools and technologies to make an impact, but today that is not the case. So we partnered with the transit agency locally here in Vancouver to start exploring how can we use technology to create a effective solution for users where they would not need to get stuck outside the transit stations, um, and restore their independence. So that 2016 was really, when the Hyperlight system story became front stream for me. My entire motivation was to just help people who had lost their access in Vancouver. So that's basically my pivot in a way to full-time entrepreneurship.
And Ashish, can you tell us a little bit about the product that you're building? You're telling us Hyperlight is trying to help people, and it's absolutely, I saw the videos and the solutions fantastic. But I was hoping that you could help our listeners visualize a little bit of the product, and also perhaps if you can explain to us what the RFID is and what does it mean, and what benefits it can bring to people. You're mentioning here the folks there that have been as Vancouver introduced the 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 system that basically back many years ago you're just going to the train and take the train. Now you have to have a little card, you have to tap the card so you can get into the station, and people with quadriplegic and disability, they're not being able to go through that process, right? So I'm just wondering if you can describe your product a little bit more, your key product there, how is that helping those people to have access to the transport that they need.
Our key product is, it's basically an RFID card, and it looks like your credit card. So if you look at our card, it looks pretty much like any other credit card. The key difference is that our card can be read by our sensors from a 1 meter to 2 meter distance. So if anyone who has our RFID card, as they come close to our sensors or where our sensors are installed within 2 meter distance, the sensors will automatically know that there is an authorized user who requires access in the system, and where the person is coming from, because usually when you go through a door, there's an entry side and exit side. So our system will automatically know that the person is approaching the gate from the entry side or exit side. And depending on the speed of travel, depending on how far that person is, the sensor can take those decisions in real time and essentially open the fare gates without tapping. So that is the key experience that enables people to seamlessly access public transit. Where using our technology, you don't need to tap your fare card. You can just go through the fare gates, or in future, we're working on buses. Is our next roadmap. So the idea is that you can get on a bus and get off a bus without any cash transaction or without tapping your fare card. We call this whole experience no tap, just go.
It's incredible how the level of applications that you can come up from that, right? So because you're exploring the Vancouver transit system here, but this has worldwide implications, right? So this can go anywhere, and not only to transit, but if you think about the same fellows going to a building and they go through the challenge, and many of the buildings here have to hold the door, open the door. So if you apply the same technology to buildings and everywhere, basically you're simplifying the life of many people, and you're giving them access to something that they don't have today. It's absolutely fantastic, right? And can you tell us a little bit about it's a startup, right? And
Yeah.
you're building a product. You're not only worrying about the technology components, right? So you have technical people, and you're a very capable technical individual as well. Can you tell us a little bit also about the business side of things? Because you're working in conversations with the transit authorities. You're working to financials. You're working different components to help the business propel, right? Can you tell us a little bit about that as well? How the complexities and how important it is to really talk to people and show them your product and the things it can do, and also secure the financials and secure the resources they need to bring your business forward.
For sure. And I think this is, this itself was a very big shift for me because my background is technical. I've been, developing products from a very young age. So when I started HyperLight and, moved on to not just managing the technical teams, but also focusing on the business and financial side of things, all of that was very new knowledge for me. I did not go to any business school to learn how to run a business, how to start a business. But the good thing is that there's a lot of information now easily available on internet that I was able to access, and I got lucky that I got access to some very senior mentors in Vancouver area who had successfully built startups before, who had successfully gone from one person company to 1,000 plus people company in a small amount of time. So having access to those people, that was really helpful for me in how do I not just develop a technology, but basically reach out to transit agencies and reach out to our customers outside of Vancouver, and basically tell them our story, tell them like what is it that we're doing and how our technology can make an impact. So that was like pretty much all new work for me. It's not something that I did before, but I think the after doing this for like 4 years, I've quite started to enjoy talking to customers and actually introducing what we're doing here in Vancouver, because a lot of times when we're talking to our customers, they don't even know that something like this is available on the market, or they don't even know that this problem that exists everywhere in the world can be solved with a relatively simple solution. So it's almost like, I feel my role now with my company is to increase a lot of awareness and help, my customers really understand that there is a simple way to solving a problem that previously was just not, possible to solve.
And Shush, can you tell us one of the challenges in life, and especially when you for younger people, and they are trying to establish a career, they are trying to apply for jobs, and they hear to people saying no all the time, right? and here you are, you're trying to push a business forward. I'm sure you try to talk to people and they say no to you as well. And what's your approach when somebody tells you no, and what do you do? Where do you go next?
I think, I think maybe it was my life story that as a kid I was very persistent. I feel if I had decided that I want to do something, I would just kind of like, start thinking about that all the time, and I would just not be able to give up on that dream. And obviously, learning no was a huge part of my journey from a young age. I mean, believe it or not, my some of my family members said no when I asked them, "Can I go to Canada to do my education?" So something as relatively smaller decision, you face no every day, and I think over so many years, maybe I've just developed a more empathetic outlook to hearing no. I don't feel personal anymore when someone tells me no, this is not something that is for them. I feel this is something that it is not yet for them, but maybe in future, as they realize something, the problem that we're solving, as they realize the depth of that problem, that can change in future. So one of the key things that I keep reminding every time I hear no is that no is just temporary. It's just it's not permanent state of mind. It's almost like, if I can use an example, when a kid asks their parents for something and the parents keep saying no, I think you can give up, or you can try to talk to your parents again and again at different points in time to just basically not force them into anything, but basically explain where you're coming from. Because in my experience, it does require a lot of conversation, a lot of like trust building, to convert one no into a yes. And I think if you basically read about anyone who's successful, they'll all tell you 100 no's mean nothing. It's only the one yes that really matters. So I think every time I'm hearing a no, I'm still focused on not really getting discouraged by the amount of no's that I hear in my life, because I know that one yes is all I need.
I think it's a fantastic answer here. And it's exactly what you said. You said many things here. You said persistency. Persistence is essential, I think, in doing life, right? So don't. And dreaming is about it's something else that's extremely important as well. You always should be dreaming and pursuing your dreams. And both you and I came from different countries, and here we are in Canada having this great conversation here today. And in a smaller scope, I was talking to Vadim, and he mentioned the great work you guys are doing. I said, well, maybe I should be able to talk to Ashish, and if I don't try, maybe the no, I have the no already, right? So, but if I don't try, wouldn't be having this great conversation that we're having here today. I think it's essential that people keep pursuing their dreams, and if they have ideas and they have stuff that they want to push forward, they keep pursuing those goals and dreams. It's essential to do that. And Ashish, we touched briefly on the topic of smart cities. And can you tell us a little bit what's your vision of a smart city? I know we're talking here about the HyperLight products and accessibility topic, but what's your vision of a smart city? How do you see the future of a city like Vancouver, which is a big city, cosmopolitan city? How do you see the term smart city today, and how do you see that in the future?
The term smart city, I think that's quite a broad term, and very, on many different occasions when I'm talking to city planners and city managers, and we're chatting about smart city, we come to an interesting realization that smart city is not just one thing. It's not even about one technology. It's many things and many technologies. But in essence, in the simplistic explanation that I think resonates with me, smart city is looking at what are the problems that exist around us, in our city, and how can we come up with solutions to those problems in a smart way, in an effective way. It could be by using technology, but it could be by not using technology. So the idea is, how do we improve? The overall goal of smart city is to create cities which are more livable, which are more, that create a quality of life for its residents that, people benefit from, and meet those goals in a more smart way versus like, spending a huge amount of money. But more specifically, from a technology standpoint and from HyperLight's vision standpoint, smart city is really looking at, our vision for smart city is really looking at what are these low cost technologies we can develop to basically help cities improve the quality of life for its residents. So an area that we're working on right now is waste management. So in waste management, that's a problem that's not unique to Vancouver. That's a problem that globally exists in every city, and every city with growing population will experience a growing number of waste. And climate change is real. I think that we need to take measurable, tangible steps today so that we're not further accelerating climate change, and also at the same time curbing all the carbon footprint that exists today. So from a smart city perspective, we're always looking at what can we do? How can technology, from a technology standpoint, enable our citizens, our city planners, our city managers? How can we enable everyone to basically achieve these long-term goals to make our cities, high quality of life?
When we look at the term smart, when we look at the AI, and AI is everywhere today. Everybody's talking about AI. Everybody's talking about smart cars, not only smart cities and everything else. And there's a lot of concern about the future of AI and the ethical use of AI. How do you see the future of AI, and how do you see the topic around the ethical use of AI?
I think AI is quite exciting and powerful, but at the same time, I completely appreciate the growing concern on the overall privacy and security risk that the AI also potentially has. So I feel, we that's another conversation that everyone needs to have, is to create frameworks so that we can use technology in a meaningful way without letting the risk become more important than sorry, rather than risk being the barrier. We need to create frameworks that we can manage the risk, we can mitigate the risk. So AI will have very profound impact on our smart city vision, because we're collecting so much data today that we can use the data to take decisions. To give you an example, let's say parking. Parking is a problem in most urban areas, and if you look at the amount of time any driver spends in just finding parking in a downtown area, or in a crowded kind of like metropolitan area, um, it's obviously not good experience for drivers, because they're spending more time on the road, on traffic, looking for a parking space. But it's also really not good for our environment, because that extra trip that they're making, just finding parking places, in that extra few minutes, you're also emitting more carbon emissions. So a simple example of smart city solution could be, if there was a way where we could reduce the time that people would need to find free parking spots, that can have a pretty big impact when you compound it over time and over multiple cities. Another example could be, like I was saying, with waste management. Right now, a lot of waste is being created every day. But if we start tracking the data, if we start like using AI to basically forecast, so this is one of our projects that we're working on. Every day, cities around the world, they send waste management pickup truck or garbage disposable trucks to go collect waste from different neighborhoods. But these trucks are still using traditional gasoline engine, while they're going to uh, collect the garbage from different neighborhoods. In the process of doing that, if the trucks don't take the right route, if they end up taking the wrong route, they're going to be spending more time on the road, and creating much higher carbon footprint than if we just gave the truck driver that this is the most efficient route that you should be taking today to go for your garbage collection. So again, looking at the data, looking at how AI can help us find the shortest path for trucks to pick up garbages. What is maybe what is the best time during the day to pick up these garbages? Is morning still the most optimal time, or is it another time in the afternoon? So using the data, we're able to basically create these policies and create decisions where we can make smart decisions in a relatively cost-effective manner, and make a huge impact on everyone's quality of life.
Ashish, looking back at your education, your high school, your university, your master's degree, how important that was to lead you to be in the position where you are today? And do you think if you had not had the exposure that you had at university and your master's degree, would you be able to be in the position that you are today as a CEO and helping push these smart technologies and the smart products forward to help others?
um, that's a very interesting question because I feel in many ways I got lucky that I was offered a scholarship to go to a university and get access to the professors and the research that I was able to get access to. So I think that definitely helped in my career, and a lot of skills in terms of how do we even research a problem when there is a problem. What is a scientific way of finding a solution that would be accepted by the scientific community, and as a result being considered as a feasible solution. I think there were some fundamental skills that the university helped me learn really quickly. But the more important question really is, can you get those skills without going to a university? And I think you absolutely can, because I feel this whole notion of going to university to learn a skill, that was really valid maybe a few generations ago, because we did not have internet as easily accessible as we do today. So previously, I would say it was arguably more important to go to a university so that you can get access to the resources where you can learn, because you cannot learn them from your smartphone or from your computer screen. But today, I think that has changed, quite dramatically, and the future of education is going to look very different. And I'm always learning. Like there's still so much that I don't know, and I'm learning almost on a daily basis, and using platforms that are available online. What I feel is really accelerating my growth, my learning curve, is actually technology. I'm able to learn new skills a lot faster, just sitting at my home, versus in a traditional setup where I would have to go through a university and learn like different skill sets, give exams. And I think that is becoming, that whole education model is becoming somewhat legacy for me. So that's basically, I feel that it definitely helped me, but could I get those skills otherwise? I think I can.
We have the topics of AI and data science are absolutely fascinating topics, and like you said, it's the future here of a number of different applications and improvements that we're going to be using AI and data for helping people and improving lives, quality, and everything else. What would you recommend today for those who are kind of starting their path and they're thinking, this thing of data science that Ashish is speaking about sounds really interesting and exciting to hear about AI. What would you recommend that they start with today to kind of set themselves on a path that they'll learn more and eventually they'll have an opportunity like you had to follow this path?
I would recommend, something that is relatively getting recent and getting quite popular. There are boot camps that are available online. You don't actually need to spend a lot of money to go to university for these boot camps. And I would encourage anyone who's interested in this field, just take like a small boot camp. The boot camp may not give you the depth of experience that you're really looking for in the long term, but it's an excellent start for anyone who just wants to understand more about these technologies and just try them out, like test them out, and it will definitely give those early skills where people can start doing some basic they can start developing some basic data models, and really understanding in a hands-on way that what would it be like to use these tools and technologies on a daily basis. So I would encourage that before investing a lot of time and a lot of financial resources into, like let's say going to university and get a data science degree or an AI degree, um, just just basically go through a bootcamp course online, see if this makes sense for you, if that is something that excites you. And if it is, then then you can, based on after you've done the bootcamp, and you will realize that even with AI is not like one field. There's so much more within AI, and at least you'll be able to navigate where your interest is and where do you want to further develop your skills.
Ashish, would you mind telling us about a little bit more about HyperLight and the people that are working with you and the kind of skill sets that you're bringing on board to help you propel the company forward and the products and the services that you're developing? Can you tell us a little bit about that?
HyperLight is a primarily a technology company. We are a product-based company. Our flagship product today is in the hands-free access space for public transit, and the products that we're developing are multidisciplinary. So our team consists of several multidisciplinary engineers. We have hardware engineers, we have electrical engineers, we also have software engineers, and even within the software engineering world, we have different skill sets. So what I really enjoy about HyperLight and building my team is it gives me an exposure to multiple technologies. It's not just we're doing web development, or we're not just a purely a data science company. We're in many ways all of the fields combined, because we have hardware, we have a web development team, and we also have a data science team. So that's basically the different skill sets that we have on board.
And what about plans for the future?
So our plans for the future are really focused on growth. In the short time that we've been around, we've been able to launch our product at a scale. We've got incredible feedback from the users using our technology every day. It's really motivated my entire team to realize that the I mean, there's so many technologies that people create, but the technologies that we're creating are really, our mission is technologies that make an impact, and that impact is we want to basically focus on growing that impact beyond Vancouver. So our future stage is taking what we've done here locally in Vancouver to globally.
How has it been the feedback from those there? They're being able to go into the stations and when they experience the ability to have access to the train station and being able to take the transit, right? So how what kind of feedback have you been hearing from those users or those customers of the services that you guys are providing as an organization? Because you're speaking for those people and they have been part of your product development exercise as well. What kind of feedback do they provide to you?
We've had some excellent feedback, from our early users, and I've heard stories that I've never heard from any other transit users. To share a story with you, we got a call one day from from our customer, the Vancouver's transit agency, and they thought that there was someone, they detected a fraud in the system because someone had used the transit, using our RFID card, someone had used the transit system 10 times within a very short amount of time. So that is an unusual activity. So we started investigating further into it. The fun thing was what we thought was a fraud was actually a user who had recently got their RFID card and was so excited that that person went to few different stations to test out the RFID card and send an email back to the team saying, I tested it, everything looks great, I love it. So I feel those are the stories that we've been hearing from the time that we've implemented this technology in Vancouver. We feel really proud of the partnership that we've established with TransLink, the transit agency in Vancouver, and the work that we've done together.
That's incredible, and there's nothing better than having that kind of feedback from your user base. They're using your product, and it's helping increase their quality of living, and it's and they're happy, and they're willing to go out of the way to provide you that feedback. It's extremely exciting. Can just imagine how happy you and the HyperLight team feel about that. So that's incredible. And Ashish, we have been talking for almost an hour here, just approaching the end of our conversation here. One thing that I always ask our guests is, do you have any recommendations in terms of books, movies, music, anything that you think, not necessarily technology related, but anything that you enjoy and you may want to share with our listeners as well?
One of the, I actually have a book in mind that I am quite passionate about. It's not related to technology, and it's the name of the book is Enlightenment Now. It's by Dr. Steven Pinker, and that book is quite a refreshing book that uses data to basically, tell the audience that looking at the data, the world has never been more peaceful than the times that we live in today, and it actually has quite interesting view because with so much negativity, with COVID and with in some cases the political situation in some countries, with so much chaos that the world is experiencing. Sometimes it's quite easy to just basically get so focused on the short term that we forget to step back and look at how long we've come. So this book is an excellent read for just that step back look on how far the humanity has come.
And do you have any recommendations for movies or music as well? Something that you like listening to when you're trying to relax a little bit, or anything else you'd like to recommend?
I'm not a big movies person, but music has always been a huge part of my life. I listen to a lot of jazz music these days. I think my music interest has also evolved as I am evolving. So you'll find me listening to a lot of jazz, when I'm working and trying to get focused. So I can't really name any one artist. I think that would be unfair, but that's basically what I'm listening to.
You cannot go wrong with that. So that's plenty of great material there. And Ashish, any last words you'd like to share with our listeners here? Any words of wisdom that you want to share with them about their potential future careers as well?
I think I would just want to just go back to what you were saying about hearing a no, and I think that is something a lot of people in my network, a lot of my friends and family, I think the biggest barrier for them is the fear of rejection, is the fear of listening a no. And I think if there's one thing that I feel I am working hard every day till today to master is basically getting past that fear, and remaining persistent and not giving up on my dreams.
I think it applies to many people there, including myself and everybody else. The fear of rejection is something really strong, and persistence is something really important, right? Ashish, would you like to leave any contact information? I know you're a busy member. Any information about HyperLight that you'd like to share with us? When you contact information for those that may be want in touch with you guys and understand a little bit more about the products you guys are producing and how you help increase people's quality of living.
Absolutely. So our website is easily accessible. It is www.hyperlight.systems. We have a lot of information about the work that we're doing here. There's a case study that people can, read to learn more about our company. And it also has our contact information to if any of the listeners want to reach out to us.
Just want to take a moment here to thank you for your time and for sharing this great story. And like I said when we we're talking offline, the whole objective was to share your story and your knowledge with people. And I think you did that with in a fantastic way. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Marcelo.
Cheers, man. Chegamos ao final de mais um episódio. Agradeço a todos a atenção. E o nosso site é OsProgramadores.com. Participem e até o próximo episódio. Um bom dia para todos.